disgrace. I just did a really long video, I think it's long, about crazy neighbors, but it's because it's kind of like giving a background to all the upcoming crazy neighbor stories, to go back some years. And anyway, I mean, I really don't know what happened in this world that, I mean, really, people can't be a little bit normal. Seriously, I'm not talking about there's like one, well, there is one norm, okay? You deviate too far from it and you might be in a psych ward. That's the kind of thing I mean. But just really, I mean, I know there's always been problem with people with neighbors, because what is that expression even? Oops, I can't see. It's about good fences make good neighbors. We have fences, okay, when it doesn't make good neighbors. Well, we don't have fences out in the front. Okay, we have an HOA, homeowners association. You have to abide by certain rules, and which is a good thing. I have a love-hate relationship with them. But yeah, we don't do anything that would, ourselves, that would, the only thing is, not getting the grass mowed quick enough. Okay, they are very picky about the grass and stuff like, they're very picky about everything. It's a long packet of information of what you can do and you can't do kind of thing. And one of our neighbors, he pushes the limit all the time, and I mentioned him in the last video, how he pushes it. He doesn't do his yard right. He has people that come out and do the yard, but one of the problems, I don't quite get how they expect him to fix, like under a tree, under the tree the grass doesn't grow, and they expect somehow for him to fix that. Well, we did ours, we did fix it, but it's to put this kind of stuff you see right here, I don't know if you can see it, around it, so there's no grass there. But he just, I don't know, he's a rebel. Okay, he doesn't think that he has to abide by rules. And I mentioned I live in what I call Narcissismville. It's not just where we live, it's an area around there. And it's kind of wealthy people, and they have that high sense of entitlement. I did not give it the reputation. When I first heard of this whole suburb, I heard this reputation the first time I heard of it, and that was like 30 years ago or so. I don't know how many years ago. So I didn't give it the reputation, but that's what I call it, Narcissismville. I have to say tell too much background for each video, because each one is a new video, But I think that was enough of that. But really, so this neighborhood that I live in, where I want to go with this one is that we've had some curious things. I mean, when we moved into it, it's going on 20 years ago. The neighborhood's, I would say, is going on around 20 years old. And it's a nice area. And we've had some things like, there are certain houses that people don't live in for very long. People buy the houses out there. You very seldom ever have renters or anything, because people buy them. And but one of them, the guy, they eventually, one bought it, they moved out, they didn't like it for whatever reason, and sold it to somebody, and he rents it out. And it's always had like very, rent property. I've had rent property before plenty of times since I was really young. So I know how it goes. It's not like people stay forever. But something is always kind of strange about them. Really, like, I don't know what you'd call it. And there's one house that's right across from that one, and they sell that one. And it's like somebody will buy it, they'll be there for a short while, and then they'll sell it again. Okay? Then there's another one, but it's not right where we can see, unless we go walk there. It's within walking distance, a short walking distance, really. And that one is kind of the same way. People buy it, they don't live there long, and they sell it to somebody else, and lather, rinse, repeat, really. So, okay. Now, really, the only reason that I really know all this is because I walk my dogs in the neighborhood. Or I had in the past walked my dogs, and yeah. I still do every once in a while, walk Marmaduke. Okay, anyway. So I always thought that was kind of suspicious. That, I mean, I don't know what it would be that one minute people just, so they transition in and out of there. And at one point, the people who were living there, it was a whole bunch, and they were never the same people. It was, I mean, one person was always the same person. You know, I'm trying to zip up my purse here. But the other ones would be different people. Yeah, I kind of had a suspicion. And the one that I guess rented it was a friend of our next door neighbor's, the one that has way too many cars. Yeah, I did that in the other video. Went way deep with that. And anyway, it's just their transition in and out. And this is a nice neighborhood, okay? It's a nice neighborhood. People pay enough in taxes that they shouldn't have to deal with this kind of weirdness, really. When I was younger, we didn't live in that great of places all the time. I mean, we moved around a lot, so like it could be bad or good. And the thing about it is, since I have and I've owned and I've this houses in other places, nobody should have to put up with craziness. But this isn't. I did a video about the true craziness. No matter where you live, no matter what kind of neighborhood, no matter whether it's a wealthy neighborhood or one that's not as advantaged, you know, yeah, you shouldn't have to put up with that. And the thing about it is, what I've noticed, and I've lived in other states besides this one, is that there's not much help for that. It's like you have neighbors, not like this, but neighbors who do crazy things, and it's more like, well, it's your word against their word, and you'd have to have it on camera. Now, who's going to have something on camera? I know that some people got ticked off at one of my videos because, or any of them, I don't have anybody on camera. I'm going to put myself in that kind of jeopardy, for a video. And some people seem to think that you should. You should be showing your crazy neighbors. Why? Seriously. Why were you going to show somebody? That's not a good thing. But yeah. But I also want to talk about this. Okay, now I'm kind of, in these two videos, kind of describing my neighbors. But there's also someone that when we first bought our house, nobody ever lived in it before. I said that. Brand new. And we moved into the neighborhood. The neighborhood didn't have that many people. It was a new neighborhood. It didn't have that many people in it. And there was one, I think at the time it was the husband and wife and a daughter. I think she was a teenager or in college or university. And they were like, we don't really know if it was them or not. I said I'm not going to tell the whole story, but they were an awful welcoming committee. The whole thing. I think that's what it was, is maybe she scares them off, she or he. I don't know which one is which, because he's always outside of his, when I walk, he's always outside working on his yard, and I think he's just kind of nosy. And we have another one who he's the same way, and I think he's rather nosy, like the neighborhood watch kind of thing. And I don't think he's in the neighborhood much, but he could be, either one of them. But to be, just instead of neighborly, to be impolite and suspicious and, it just wasn't right. It wasn't like a good welcoming to the neighborhood type of thing. We personally are not the types that cause anybody any problems. We never have been. I've known Adam for, like I just might as well start saying, going on 40 years. He's actually 37. But, yeah, we're not that type. And so, as it is, we turned out to be the good neighbors in the whole neighborhood, which we would be because we've always been that type. Not because anybody tried to force us to be. The people who would try that, try to tell us what we should do, where we should walk our dogs and all this kind of stuff, that's the bad people. That's the bad neighbors. It's one who thinks ones who think they own the road and run the show and, run the neighborhood. No, you don't. So, but like I said, there's nothing that we do that we would, be the type to do in the first place. So, I'm not going to rebel against anybody, do something bad just to rebel. I'm not that type, so, no. I do think maybe that this kind of mentality runs people off, too. You know, some people say, I don't want to live here when my neighbors are watching everything I do. And, you know, I think people do watch what, you know, some of them, not all of them, watch what everybody does and calls the HOA, and the HOA gets involved. And, you know, just on a regular basis, if you don't have everything perfect, like your yard isn't perfect and you know, my only thing is, I don't like whenever they park in front of my mailbox or park right in front of my door when you don't need to. You know, we can't get out, so like I said in other videos. But anyway, I think I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping this up, and yeah. But I'm going to do more about these as time goes by, but I felt I needed to do a little background. Hopefully, yeah, I won't have to talk so much about the background in each video. Oof, the sun's going to be bright. So I'm going to wrap this up. If you want to subscribe, click the circle. If you're watching a video on this channel, click on the rectangles. Like, subscribe, comment, share if you would. I'll talk to you on another video. Bye.